one of the biggest problems that Ed Orgeron has had, and Les Miles before him, is the re-recruitment of players. This is somewhere that Alabama has beaten LSU 10 ways to Sunday on bringing back their own kids. And we talked about why, that it became a cultural thing, that it was something that they recruited to, but also maybe that they just hadn't put the focus on the re-recruitment and had sort of counted on the building to re-recruit itself. Like, hey, don't you want to stay here? And it was like, no, I want to go make money. Well, but if you stay, you could make more money. Well, maybe that didn't come across as well. So we put together a list of players back. I think we did this in early November, you and I. We were doing it on one of those Mondays. It's like, who are the kids that they need to give back? And I gave you a list of 4.
Yep.
I said, here's 4 guys, all of whom could leave early, all of whom are contributors, very important pieces, all of whom could improve their stock, but all of whom in any other year in the last 10 would leave. And that list of 4 was Ali Gaye, Ed Ingram, Micah Baskerville, and Dare Rosenthal. To date, LSU's gotten 3 of those guys back. Only Rosenthal is still at large and may very well get him back.
Right.
These are all guys that were big-time contributors to LSU this year. All of them have NFL futures. None of them are guaranteed anything at the NFL level. All of them can improve their stock by coming back, and right now 3 of them are. In addition, they've gotten back Liam Shanahan, which I thought we thought was a possibility.
Yeah.
Neil Farrell, which we thought was a very good possibility. Andre Anthony, which I did not count on at all.
Nope.
And Chasen Hines, who I had sort of given out as a given to come back. I don't think that there was a real bright NFL immediate future for Chasen Hines, though I do think he's got some great long-term potential if he'll get in better shape.
Right.
Go look at Trey Turner. Go look at what he did.
Yeah.
Hines as a freshman and sophomore looked a lot like Turner did as a true freshman and a redshirt freshman. And then when he came back as a third-year sophomore, you looked at Turner like, in better shape. Then he went to the NFL. He got in really good shape. And he made millions of dollars. Hines could do that.
Yeah.
He's got that kind of ability, but he's got to lose some weight. All of these guys coming back here represents about a quarter of a recruiting class. And it's not just a quarter of a recruiting class. A quarter of a recruiting class of guys that have started.
Yeah.
Guys that can play, that have achieved a certain amount of success and have an even higher ceiling. This is a very good base that they have started with. They're still gonna go talk, to Deculus, I'm sure, who I'm kind of expecting to go, but you never know. And Dare Rosenthal, it would be the other one.
Yeah, but just because that's such a need position, like that's what makes this gigantic, is the fact that the offensive line, the numbers were so low because of who you thought you were going to lose. You had to do anything you could. And you've got, 2 now guys in this signing class. You missed on a couple of guys, and so you don't have 6 guys coming in. Like, you had to have this get done. And LSU's just not had the fortune of being able to get this done in the last decade plus, right? So to get these guys back in these key positions is huge for LSU. To get Ed Ingram's probably the most, I'd say, surprising name for me on that list, just because I thought he had done enough to be able to get drafted. Now, can he get drafted higher? Absolutely. But I thought he'd done enough to get drafted. He has been here for a long time. He's had some circumstances obviously come up where he's missed some time. He's been out of high school for a while. So I thought he would leave. He might be the most impressive name on that list. Now, Ali Gaye is another one because of what he done. I thought he maybe could have gotten drafted. Now you're talking about this guy could work his way into who knows because of his potential. So there's some important names on that list. It's not just like you mentioned at the top. It's not just guys. It's not just guys that helped you rotating pieces. These are guys that have started a lot of football at LSU.
Ingram has the most on his resume at LSU of everybody on the list. He has the most impressive contributions, but he doesn't, in my opinion, have the biggest upside of everybody on that list. That would be Gaye.
Yeah.
Gaye has, in my opinion, he's got a first-round body and fourth-round production so far. You see it every now and then. Like in the first game of the year, it's like, ooh, look
it's like the
guy.
First and last game.
The first and last game.
It's kind of how he did it.
And in the middle, you saw a lot of where'd that guy go, this disappearing act. Go put 12 guys. What do we say about Terrace Marshall? I said this, I must have said it 100 times about Terrace Marshall in the offseason. What's he got to do? He's got to play every game. And he, regular season, okay? He played every game but the end. He never got hurt, in other words. Go put a season of film that proves that you can get through a season without getting hurt, and you'll be a first-round pick. And Marshall did. I know he opted out at the end. It pissed everybody off. I get it. But he proved that he could get through a regular season without getting injured, and he's going to be a first-round pick. I'll be surprised if he's not. If he doesn't, he ain't going to last long in a second. Gaye needs to go out and put 12 games where he's there.
Right.
He doesn't have to have 12 games where he's got multiple sacks in every game. But you got to know he's there every game. You can't just get to the end of the game and go, man, where was 11? Yeah. What happened to him? He does that, and he'll be a first or second day pick next year. So he's got a ton of upside. And I understand that guys like Andre Anthony, who ended up leading the team in sacks, by the way,
he did.
Played well. As soon as I'm going to say he's not a star, you're going to tell me he led the team in sacks. Right. So I'm doing my preemptive strike here. Yeah. Neil Farrell, who is another guy, got some potential, has done some good things, has played well at times, needs to lose some weight. He comes back. I feel about him like we were talking about some of the offensive linemen. You know what? You come back, or when we talked about Tyler Shelvin, come back at 345 pounds, man, I know you're ready to play. Come back at 370 pounds, I know you're not. Same thing with Farrell. He comes back in that 310, 315 range. Hey, man, let's motor. He comes back at 345. Okay, well, then you'll know. Shanahan, I thought, had an okay year. I don't think anybody on the offensive line had what you would call a great year, or even an above average year, but he was okay. Yeah, and he gives you another option, gives you some. And
at that spot, it's 50% of it is being able to make the calls, being able to adjust whenever blitzers are coming, all those type of things, right? You got to have a guy like that, like because when I look at our center in 07, like Brett Helms. He was a mauler, but he was really good at getting the right protections and different things. He was undersized, kind of like Shanahan, but if you can have a guy in that position, that's half the battle. So he does have to improve on some of the things like his strength and lower center of gravity going against SEC rushers and Ivy League rushers, but that's still a big get for LSU to be able to keep him.
And I just love Baskerville, the way he plays.
Yep. He made a difference. Yeah. The defense was atrocious in 2020. There's not a lot of positive things, but at least he did make a difference. You noticed when he came in as a starter.
I'm not going to tell you he's the most physically gifted linebacker that they've ever had there, but he plays. Yeah. I mean, he plays hard. He plays smart. I feel like I'm getting my money's worth when I watch Baskerville play. So all of that is good. The question I'll leave you with in this first segment is, does this constitute the beginning of a culture change, or is this a one-off? That you're able to get 6, 7, 8 guys back that could have gone pro. I don't know. I can't answer that yet. I can tell you that it would be a wonderful thing if all of these guys, or at least most of these guys, improved their stock, came back and had a strong final year where you could go and tell the story, hey, look how much more money this guy made because he came back. They were ready to tell this story with Lyle Collins. When Collins came back, it was a big deal because it's like, well, man, that's a guy that you've been losing. They brought him back, and he was all supposed to be a first-round pick, and then that ridiculous story hit where that he got tangled up and he got blacklisted in the draft and he got screwed. They were ready to tell that story. Collins was going to be a great story. Tre'Davious White ended up becoming a great story to tell. Hey, look how much better off Trey was when he got to the NFL. Still made his money, got to the second contract now, and was one of the best defensive rookies in the year he got there. That was a good story to tell. If they can come back and tell stories like that on most or even all, or hopefully all, but let's just be realistic and say most of these guys, then your culture starts to change, and you can go back and you can tell that story. It's like when you put one good contract together on an NFL team, and then you come back to the next guy and you say, hey, look, we've got this contract. We can't do any, we can't do different than that. Right. This is a building block contract. These are building block guys that you can start to tell a story about. That's what my hope is.
And honestly, they're guys that should come back. And LSU's just lost so many of those guys over the last 10 to 15 years. Like every one of those guys, and it's a great point you make, like they can better themselves. They can go from a fifth round pick to even if they go from a fifth to a second, that's a big jump.
They're not
That's
trying
a
to
big
talk
difference.
first-round picks out of going
Right.
to the draft here.
But for whatever reason, and this has been numerous coaching staffs, they have not been able to get some of those guys. To get those guys is a big step. This is the easiest year, if there's ever a year, for anybody on that list to go ahead and leave. This is the easiest year. Nobody blames you. Everybody opted out before, after, middle of the season, all that, okay? So this is the easiest year, and you've probably done your best job. So that is positive momentum to try to change the culture and to get guys to stay every single year. Unless, look, if you're a surefire, like if Jamar Chase would have played this year, okay, nobody's going to try to talk him into coming back, right? No. Nobody's going to talk Terrace Marshall into trying to come back, okay? He's going to be a first-round pick, at worst, an early second-round pick. Those guys, okay, but it's these guys on this list that you have to have come back to build your program. So if you do have a couple of misses in recruiting, you're able to absorb those and get back to recruiting the next year to try to make up for it, and you don't have this gap in time.